OpenAI introduced a number of new health features yesterday, first reported by The Information, that allows customers to integrate a ton of their health data with the ChatGPT platform. The new features are still in the waitlist phase, but eventually you'll be able to better integrate data from Apple Health, Weight Watchers, and medical records to get better insights. To discuss all this, I want to bring on two friends of the show. Dr. Jordan Shlain is the founder and chairman of Private Medical. John Battelle is an entrepreneur, and they are both the co-founders of a health-focused conference called Doc. Welcome to you both. It's great to have you back on the show.
Good to be here.
Good to be here.
So, Jordan, I'm going to come to you first because you are the doctor here. What do you think of the features?
The article captured what's real. Like, people are using ChatGPT all the time. I use it, and it provides health at enormous scale. But I think the way I want to frame this is healthcare is the land of small errors and big consequences. So in Silicon Valley nomenclature, it's move fast and break things. In healthcare, it's kind of move slow and don't kill people. So I think what we really want to do is maybe try to move fast and not harm people. At Private Medical, as you mentioned, we all use medical grade AI in the form of a company called Open Evidence. All of our 35 doctors use this daily to help us with diagnostics, treatment planning. But I'll just say that each person is not just a generic bag of variables. They're a unique physiologic and psychological being. So it's important to understand that each person on the other end of this can get a lot of good information. But so a health hub is easy, and I'm super excited that this is all happening. But we need to remind ourselves that insight is not the same as care, and people confuse smart output with medical truth, and they're not the same animal. Think of it this way: a health interface can summarize pattern matching, but a care system has accountability, calibration, consent, and escalation. And so, diagnosing, which is, there's two reasons to see a doctor. One, the situation is unbearable. Number two, the anxiety about the situation is unbearable. So in both of those instances, going to the web and uploading stuff and asking questions to name the thing that you're trying to solve is really important. So
to get some kind of an answer, at least some sort of insight.
Yeah, but once you have the diagnosis, then what, right? How do there's treatment, there's navigation, there's, like I said, there's all this calibration. So I think we're at the front edge of an amazing, the walls of fortress medicine are coming down, finally. I mean, the digital health movement, which started 20 years ago that I was a part of, that was something where we thought, oh my God, digital health is going to really happen.
Right.
And now it is.
So let me ask you, is there any part of this that concerns you as a doctor at all?
Yeah. So the first question is, like I mentioned, what problem are we actually solving? Is the goal interpretation, coaching, navigation, quasi-diagnosis? Because the risk really changes completely depending on which lane you're in. The other question is, what's the failure mode plan? In healthcare, the question isn't will it be wrong sometimes? Of course it will. It's what happens when it's wrong at 2 a.m. with a scared person and partial data. The article admits that advice can be dangerous. So walk me through a plan when things go sideways. The other one is, where does accountability live? If a model nudges someone away from seeking urgent care or nudges them into unnecessary care, who owns the outcome? The product, the policy, the user.
What out of curiosity, what do you think the answer to that question is? Who has the accountability there?
Well, I mean, this is, I guess in the T's and C's of a thing. Ultimately, if you're providing advice, and you are confident, and that, the other thing is the overconfident intern problem, which is they're the ones who don't know what they don't know. And so we don't want AI to be the overconfident intern. So, I think before I answer that question directly, I think it's can there be calibrated uncertainty in the display? I might be wrong, maybe isn't enough. The system needs to know how wrong it might be.
Right.
How does it show its work? The sources, the guidelines, what data informed the response? If it's Reddit and all these other people crowdsourcing, well, crowdsourcing is good for some things, but it may not be good for you. So I think, this is where the real meat of the questions is: who owns the responsibility?
And if I might interject, Jordan, the tech industry has been grappling with exactly this question ever since there's been a tech industry. Platforms generally have been protected by Section 230, which the information has covered extensively over the years. which essentially states that it's not responsible for the content that might be on that platform from third parties like, consumers. Now, that's fine for Google search or for Instagram, but is that fine when a service is directly providing editorial points of view, which is essentially what a chatbot service does? This question is unanswered in terms of its impact on society and how it will be regulated. And I think this year will be the year that we start to hear a lot of conversation, debate, and controversy, and health will be the tip of the spear.
John, let me ask you a question about another piece of news from this week that was health related. And Jordan, chime in here if
Sure.
you want to. Wearables is another area that is very much overlapped here, and we see everyone. I mean, everyone has some kind of a wearable now, something tracking them. And the future of this platform is that eventually it might be able to take advantage of your Aura Ring or maybe your Whoop. And we also had some news this week that now the government is there. You go. You've got the Aura. Although
I had a great night of sleep last night.
our friend Tom Hale, the CEO of Aura, he wanted to see the new ceramic model on your ring. I think that's,
Well,
that's
he
what they're pushing.
needs to send it to me. He brought me a bottle of olive oil for Christmas, but not a new ring.
So that industry got a bit of a blessing from the government this week because they said, hey, we're going to loosen the regulations on the work that you can do.
Yeah.
And I guess my question for you is, John, the business question for you is, do you think that sector is at risk at all when ChatGPT or OpenAI can come in and say, hey, we're going to make use of that data? And then Jordan, maybe afterwards we'll come to you, and I want your view on sort of how you think healthcare changes, from the doctor's end. John, we'll start with you.
Well, yeah, in the announcement from OpenAI and the government regulatory stance that you covered around wearables and data, at the center of that, at the middle of the Venn diagram, the combination of those two things is where I think the conversation's headed this year. And really, it goes to who's in charge. Health data is the most personal data we have, perhaps only matched by financial data. And it has its own set of regulations, which Jordan, as a doctor, must adhere to. And any company that participates in the health ecosystem and manages health data must also adhere to those regulations. Now, when the individual consumer consents to uploading, say, your Aura data into ChatGPT or Gemini, then where is the liability? I think we got from the news that you just referenced an indication from the government that they're not going to go after companies like Aura if a consumer makes an informed consent to upload their data. Now, does that make you comfortable?
So
someone should be, ensuring compliance, safety, privacy, and accountability and liability.
Jordan?
I was going to say that in the world of like citizen science, which is really what this is, people want to know about themselves. They don't want to rely on me, the doctor, the medical system to be this paternalistic overlord of all this information that's gatekept. I want to just comment on one thing John said is that, we are all bound. Doctors are bound by the Hippocratic Oath. Let's go. That's like a primal thing. The HIPAA is like the technological version of some version of privacy, which, I can tell you a story about a doctor who tried to call a hospital to get some information about another patient in the hospital. And they said, sorry, we don't know who you are. We can't exchange information. And the patient died in the hospital with his privacy intact. So I think we have to really look at this privacy issue as a real issue. But a lot of the big companies, the insurance companies, the hospitals, they're bound by HIPAA, but in their T's and C's, they say, oh, by the way, we can sell your data. So they adhere to the things, but then they make you opt out of the thing that they're supposed to adhere to. So there's a massive market for healthcare data. Just go to any big healthcare conference like HIMSS or Health, and you will see booths that are millions of dollars or just big data brokers. So I think that's a whole shadow industry that no one's really talking about, much like the data industry. But back to Aura and back to this information, I think it's really, really interesting. People can get insights about themselves and their health that are really valuable on the
But Jordan, do you think is this a threat at all to those businesses in terms of the value? And they have the hardware, which is a clear value add. I mean, I don't know. Would OpenAI that they're already looking at hardware plays as well? I mean, uh, could you see OpenAI moving to buy one of these companies? I mean, John, you
Absolutely.
did
As a matter of fact, it's one of my predictions for 2026 is that I think open evidence, which Jordan referenced earlier, will be acquired by a large tech player.
and
They
and
have,
or they will be acquiring other companies.
yes,
Right? I
absolutely.
mean,
Absolutely. And let's not forget the engine that drives Silicon Valley is data-driven, personalized advertising at scale. This data is incredibly valuable to the $32 billion pharmaceutical and health marketing industry. That's $32 billion a year. And we all know, thanks to the information's reporting, that all of these AI companies have a revenue problem. They need to make a lot more of it to justify their current valuation.
they have a lot of revenue. It's the profitability. It's the cost that are really
They have a more revenue problem,
Right,
right?
right,
They
right.
need to grow into those valuations. And everyone knows that OpenAI is building an advertising platform. So how will this category, health, play into that advertising business? And that goes for Google, that goes for Amazon, Meta, and everybody else.
And by the way, one last thing, it's kind of like a broad thing, but I think if this health hub concept really takes off, like I'm looking for 5 promises. One is clear scope. Is it navigation and coaching, not diagnosis and treatment? Like, what's the lane? Number 2 is strong escalation. Uh, you know, urgent symptoms trigger human care pathways without ambiguity. 3, verifiable outputs, like I mentioned earlier, sources, guidelines. If I can't check your work, I can't trust your work, which all kind of goes to trust. 4th is hard privacy boundaries, which is what we're talking about. Is this a separate environment with minimal retention by default? Do you earn the data? How does the data actually, what are the clear, opt in, opt out for all data bits that you're putting into a system? You don't really know what's going to happen. And the 5th one is measured deployment. Are there clinical pilots? Is there monitoring? Is there post-market surveillance mindset? I think we have to treat this like a medical intervention because it's quasi-medical and it's quasi-consumer. And, again, you don't want to be the recipient of a really bad outcome and we see these all the time because you wholly trusted AI.
Right. Well, I want to thank you both for coming on. It was a pretty great announcement in I think the land of healthcare, one that I think a lot of people were waiting for, and so I think there's a lot more to watch and see how it plays out. Thank you both for coming on. That is Dr. Jordan Shlain and John Battelle here on TI TV.